Take a bite of food right now. Actually, don't, because I want you to think about what's about to happen to that food once you swallow it. It's going to take a terrifying journey. It's going to pass dangerously close to your windpipe, the exact tube your body uses to pull in the air, keeping you alive. And for a brief split second, a small flap of cartilage has to perfectly seal off your airway, or that food is going down the wrong pipe. You're going to cough, sputter, maybe turn a little blue, and if nobody is around to do the Heimlich maneuver, you could die. Here is the wildest part about that scenario. If you were a horse, a dog, a chimpanzee, or almost any other mammal on Earth, that wouldn't happen. A horse can breathe and swallow at the exact same time. A chimpanzee doesn't have to worry about a piece of fruit becoming a lethal weapon, but you do. Every single day, every single time you eat, you are playing a low-stakes game of Russian roulette with your own throat. Humans choke on food more than any other mammal. And it's not a bug. It's not a random mistake in how we were built. It is the single most obvious, painful, and deeply ironic trade-off in the entire history of human evolution. We traded our physical safety for the ability to tell you about this video. To understand why we choke, you have to look at the plumbing in your neck. In most mammals, the throat is designed like a two-lane highway that never intersects. The pathway for air, the trachea, and the pathway for food, the esophagus, are kept safely apart. Their voice box, the larynx, sits high up near the back of their nose. Because it's so high, the airway is locked off from the food pathway when they swallow. They can breathe while chewing. It's a flawless, perfectly safe biological system. Now, look at us. Look at what we did. At some point in our evolutionary history, our larynx dropped way down. It plunged deep into our neck, right next to our esophagus. In human anatomy, the food pipe and the air pipe cross paths like a poorly designed intersection. They literally share a back wall. When you swallow, a little flap called the epiglottis has to fold down like a trapdoor to cover your windpipe. If you're talking, or laughing, or breathing in at the exact millisecond you swallow, that trapdoor stays open. And the food takes the wrong exit. Evolution had hundreds of millions of years to get this right, and for most animals, it did. So why did evolution look at the human neck and say, you know what? Let's turn this into a choking hazard? The answer, of course, is language. When our larynx dropped down into the neck, it created a larger resonating chamber above it. Think of a guitar. A tiny ukulele makes a high, thin sound. A massive acoustic guitar makes a deep, booming, a complex sound. By dropping the voice box, our ancestors essentially built a bigger sound box. It allowed them to shape air in incredibly complex ways, creating the vast range of vowels and consonants that make up human speech. You cannot make the sound ee or ooh or ah with a high-up monkey-style larynx. Try to make those sounds while keeping your larynx locked high in your throat. You can't. You need that drop. So, around maybe 500,000 to a million years ago, with species like Homo heidelbergensis or early Homo sapiens, evolution made a cold, ruthless calculation. It looked at the benefits of complex speech, the ability to coordinate hunts, to warn each other about predators, to plan for the future, to pass down knowledge, and it weighed that against the risk of occasionally dying over a poorly chewed piece of mammoth meat. Speech was so overwhelmingly powerful for our survival that evolution just accepted the choking as collateral damage. Natural selection doesn't care if you die at age 35 because a piece of fruit went down the wrong pipe, as long as before you died, you used your complex language to help your tribe survive, reproduce, and pass on that dropped larynx to the next generation. And if you want proof that this is a modified, weirdly human thing, look at a newborn baby. Human babies are born with their larynx still high up in the neck, exactly like a chimpanzee. Because of this, a baby can swallow milk and breathe at the exact same time. This is why babies can drink milk continuously without stopping to take a breath, which is great because they have tiny lungs and need the oxygen, but because their larynx is so high, babies cannot make the complex sounds of adult speech. They can only cry and make basic nasal sounds. They physically do not have the equipment to say words. Then, at around 3 to 4 months of age, the larynx begins to drop. The baby's throat undergoes this massive internal restructuring. The pathways cross, the resonating chamber forms, and by the time they are toddlers, they can speak. But the trade-off is now locked in. They have gained the ability to say mama, but they have permanently lost the ability to breathe and swallow at the same time. They are now, biologically, at risk of choking. We literally grow out of a safe, functional biological design and grow into a dangerous one, just so we can talk. Now, imagine this dropped larynx in the context of the prehistoric world I usually talk about. You are an early human. You've just taken down a massive animal. You are ravenously hungry. You're tearing into the meat with your hands, probably laughing with your group, shouting at someone across the fire. You don't have a fork. You don't have a knife to cut it into tiny, safe pieces. You're just shoving chunks of calories into your mouth as fast as you can, surrounded by noise and chaos. The prehistoric environment was the absolute worst possible place to have a cross-connected throat. One bad swallow while telling a joke, and you're dead. No hospitals, no ambulances. Just a tragic, embarrassing end to your 30,000-year survival streak, all because you tried to talk with your mouth full. It makes you wonder how many of our ancestors didn't make it precisely because of this anatomical glitch. We'll never know, because choking leaves no mark on the fossil record. Today, we try to mitigate this flaw. We cook our food to soften it. We invented knives to cut it into bite-sized pieces. We have the Heimlich maneuver. We have paramedics. We've built an entire modern culinary safety net to protect us from evolution's worst engineering decision. But the flaw remains. Tens of thousands of people die from choking every single year. It is one of the leading causes of accidental death globally. Yet, we never think about it. We just accept it as a normal part of being human. But it is not normal. In the animal kingdom, it is deeply, profoundly weird. Every time you speak, every time you sing a song, every time you tell someone you love them, or explain a complex idea or record a video for the internet, you are using an instrument that was built directly on top of a biological death trap. We are the only species on Earth that can talk about the universe, but we are also the only species that can be killed by a grape. Evolution gave us the greatest superpower in the natural world, language. The price of admission was just the constant, lingering threat of death by snack.